Is there like a binder or something in here that could like 5 notes or something I want to write?
Good morning, Byron.
Hey, good morning.
Just look, here's the camera right
AC
here.
Smith, man, legend.
Desmond, let me know when you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm.
HT, you gotta upgrade your camera, brother.
Am I like talking to the crowd or like?
This is to get us started.
What's up, guys? My name is Patrick Laird. I'm going into my second year with the Dolphins. I play running back. First of all, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Really excited to talk to both of you. I know you have a ton of knowledge, and I'm here with my teammate Byron. I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Byron Jones. This is my first year with the Dolphins. I'm actually a sixth-year player in the league. Born and raised in Connecticut, so I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about the state of Florida, and you guys are the guys to talk to, so I'm looking forward to the conversation.
One goal, so Byron and I are both members of what we call the Dolphins Social Impact Committee, and we just started meeting over Zoom, just how we're meeting now, and guys started talking about what they're interested in, and we kind of came up with three common ideas that people wanted to work on, and it was education, economic empowerment, and civic engagement. And obviously, elections coming up this year, and so civic engagement kind of came to the front, and we said, hey, we want to do something, we want to have a positive impact, and raising awareness and talking about things is awesome, but we wanted to take action. And then we also wanted to educate people, and so we thought having productive conversations with people that have spent their careers working in these areas is a great way to spread awareness, have great conversations and learn more, and then we're going to turn that into action.
Well, we are too.
Yeah, definitely great meeting both of you guys, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you all have to ask and see how we can help expand your understanding of what's going on here in Florida.
We can do introductions with you guys, but I think as we talk, people kind of find out more about your background. And what I hear is there's a pretty special story, Desmond, of when you first met HT, and you guys kind of have built a relationship. So I'd love to hear that story.
Well, yeah. So and this story, actually, I have to skip a few chapters ahead to get to this point, but Professor H.T. Smith is like legendary, and he was this big icon, still is this big icon in my mind. And so when I eventually got accepted into law school at Florida International University College of Law, where he is a professor, I was like really blown away. This man, his reputation preceded him, particularly around, the work that he did in organizing the boycott in Miami several years before. And so eventually I worked up enough nerve to knock on his door one day and sat down with Professor Smith and talked to him about, first of all, who I was. I was a guy that, a few years prior to getting admitted into law school, I was homeless, hooked on drugs, recently released from prison, and was standing at railroad tracks waiting on a train to come so I could jump in front of it. But the train didn't come that day, and I, crossed those tracks, and I checked myself in the drug treatment. And then after completing that, I moved into a homeless shelter. And while living at the homeless shelter, I decided to go to school primarily to not use drugs anymore. I needed to do something to raise my self-esteem. But when I got in Miami-Dade College in this paralegal program, and it was like getting a fish to water. And then when graduating with highest honors, I eventually got accepted into law school. So there I was sitting in the office with the great Professor H.T. Smith, all right, sharing that story with him, and then telling him about this crazy idea I had that I believe that we could reverse 150-year-old law, Jim Crow law, that Florida insisted on holding on to, which stripped voting rights and civil rights away from people convicted of felony offenses for life. And I thought that he was, out of all the people in this entire planet, this was the man who I needed to talk to, because the things that I was looking to do required the kind of audacious thinking and courageous a commitment to actually going out there, because I know that when he did it, there was a whole lot of folks that probably thought he was crazy and that it was going to be impossible. But he showed that we could take the word impossible and change it into I'm possible. And so he was the only one in the entire planet that I knew that if I can get to him and at least tap into a portion of his brain, that I was going to have a chance of actually being successful with our efforts to restore voting rights to people with felony convictions. And so that started our story and our journey together.
Patrick, what Desmond did not know is that when he was admitted to school, that was the talk among professors, that we have this guy here in school now who was homeless, who was a crack addict, who had been to prison. And everybody was wondering, how could he get from then and there and that to here and now and this? I mean, this was incredible. We had never had a story like this at FIU. And I went to school at the Law School at the University of Miami. We had never had a story like that to that point, University of Miami. So when he knocked on my door, I was excited to meet him, to find out who is this man who can get from there. Just like he said about me, I was blown away. And then he had the audacity to tell me that he was going to change the law that had been in existence for 150 years, and just about every smart, well-placed, well-financed, popular progressive had tried to do it for like 50 years and had failed. I said, now I understand how he overcame all that he overcame, because to him, impossible means it just ain't been done yet.
Desmond, when did that idea come into your head that you wanted to change this law?
Oh, wow. You know, that's a good question. It actually came the spring of 2011. The state of Florida had elected a governor, Charlie Crist. And one of the first things he did was, in Florida, if an individual is convicted of a felony offense, they lose the right to vote for life. But the governor has clemency powers. And so with those clemency powers, he was able to usher in a policy that allowed for the restoration, or the automatic restoration, of civil rights, which included voting rights, for people who were convicted of less serious offenses. And what happened was, during those 4 years, over 155,000 individuals were able to get their civil rights restored, and therefore was eligible to be able to vote. When after he left and we elected Rick Scott, the first thing he did when he came into office was to actually undo those policy changes and make it even more difficult. And so now people had to wait at least 5 to 7 years after they have completed their sentence before they were even allowed to just apply to have their rights restored. And what we've seen was that people was going to be waiting at least 10 to 14 years just to even have a hearing to see if they had an opportunity to have their rights restored. And even when they had the hearing, they had less than a 1% chance to get those rights restored. And so what baffled me and really scared me at the same time was the fact that a politician, just with the stroke of a pen, could determine which American citizen get the vote and which don't get the vote. And I just thought that was way too much power to be in the hands of 4 politicians, right? To really determine whether or not I can vote, and that power should be in the hands of citizens. And it didn't matter what party they were from, whether it was Democrat, Republican, Independent, it didn't matter, right? Because anytime you leave decisions like that in the hands of politicians, it leaves room for partisan politics to play a role in decision making. And we see that even now with COVID-19 and the response to it, that whenever politics and partisan politics get involved, people die and we end up suffering. And so I was inspired to take that type of power out of the hands of politicians and put it in the hands of people.